Hi, everybody, and welcome to this masterclass, How to Thrive in 2025. And I thought that was a good title because it rhymes. Anyway, so technology is not one of my strongest points. And so I have just actually done the masterclass with an audience and forgot to record it. So I'm going to do it again just for you. There you go. So today we're going to talk about how to close the gap between where you're at right now and where you truly want to be. So I'd like you to relax. Take a deep breath. Take a little vacation for an hour. Well, probably a bit less than an hour. And open up your mind. And make sure you have some pen and paper ready, as we're going to be doing a few exercises as we go through the session. And what I would like you to do as we go through these exercises is to observe your thought patterns about it, just out of interest. Okay. So today we'll explore goals, the purpose of goals and why you need them. And we'll get into the things that might be holding you back and why. Then we're going to take a bit of time to talk about self-image and explain self-image and how it's keeping you stuck where you're at. And lastly, we'll touch on the terror barrier, which I thought was very apt for Halloween tomorrow. And really get to understand how you can use fear to create freedom in your life. And I'll explain a bit more right at the end about how I work with my clients, and then you can decide whether you want to find out more about that too. So the first bit of good news is that it's totally possible for you to have anything and everything you want. Because that idea would not have come up in your mind if you weren't capable of doing it. Everything you need to achieve it is already locked up inside of you. We're just going to bring it to the surface. Because really, where else would the idea have come from? It has to have come from somewhere. So it either came from inside of you, which means you've got everything you need inside of you, or it popped into your mind from outside and you entertained the idea, which also means that you must have everything inside of you to achieve it. So let's start with the question. What would you love to have happen in your life in the next 12 months and beyond? Really think about that. And I want you to let go of any constraints you can think of. If you couldn't fail in the next 12 months, and believe me, you really cannot fail, what would you go for? I want you to suspend with your disbelief for a moment and imagine that it were not impossible. Imagine I'm your fairy godmother and I have a wand, a magic wand, and you can have anything you want. What would it be? Now, interestingly enough, this is where the first problem starts for most of us, because nearly all of us have not given any real serious thought and consideration to think about what we really want, possibly not since we were very little children. Because most of us will immediately come up with what seems like a very valid reason as to why it's not possible. And then we stop thinking about it. And I'm here to help you with that, like I've helped a lot of my clients, in fact, all of my clients. So I want you to give yourself permission to just dream for the next 40 minutes or so. So with that in mind, write down what you would love to have happen in your life in the next 12 months and beyond. Something that's important to you, something that would have a very big impact on your life and the lives of your loved ones. Something that you've wanted for a while, but it just didn't seem to be happening. My name's Caddy, Kath to those who know me from my logistics work or from LinkedIn. And I'm a life-changing coach. And I teach a process that enables you to get whatever it is that you want to get in life, as long as you follow the process. Right? So I've helped many, many people, for instance, get their life-work balance back, really significantly reducing the hours that they're working. Some of them found their dream job. Some of them started a successful business. All of them got rid of stress and burnout. They got the joy back into their life. Some of them increased their income by quite a significant amount. And we always, always build up confidence, the confidence in themselves and their abilities. And within a week or so, my clients are waking up feeling good about themselves and the day. And they no longer feel lost or at a crossroads or indecisive or unhappy. And the process has worked for me too, but I'll tell you a bit more about that later. So that's why I love what I do, because it really changes people's lives for the better permanently. Now, go back to that thing that you really would like to have happen in your life. Now, would you agree that if you keep doing what you're doing by yourself, not much is going to change? So what do you think needs to change? Write down some of those thoughts. For you to improve things in your life, what needs to change? And really, the only thing that does need to change is your thinking. So let me explain a bit more about that. So the outside world is a direct reflection of what's going on inside of us. And unless you change what's going on inside of you, your outside world won't change. See, the thing is that right now you are living the way you're living. You're getting the results that you're getting because you know how to do that. You could say that that's a habit. So if you want to move from where you're at right now to where you really want to be at, you need to shift what we call a paradigm. Now, your paradigm, we explain, is like a multitude of habits that are fixed in your subconscious mind. It's your belief system. And we have habitual ways of doing lots of things, habitual ways of physically doing things, but habitual ways of thinking, of feeling, of acting, behaving, interacting, dealing with things and people and situations, all habitual. Most of it is habitual. So if you want to change those things and you want to happen what you want to happen in the next year or so, or even before, we have to change your paradigm, the way that you think. And a huge part of your paradigm is the way that you see yourself. It's your self-image. And the thing is that you can never outperform your self-image. It will keep you stuck where you're at unless you change it. So what we ultimately have to do is create the version of you that has already achieved your goal. And right now, you're not stuck where you're at because that's what you want. You're stuck where you're at because you know how to live that way. And you and I both know that you're worth way more than that, right? You know it, I know it, but your subconscious mind doesn't know it yet. It didn't get the memo yet. And I'm really not just making this up, right? So there's a lot of research that shows that our subconscious mind controls 95% of our thoughts, emotions, actions, and decisions. So that means that your paradigm and your self-image is controlling 95% of your entire life. And it's unconscious, it's subconscious, it's a habit. A habit is when our body does something, when we do something without any conscious thought. 95% of our entire life controlled by subconscious behavior. Crazy, right? So it's a really black and white deal. If you don't change your paradigm, nothing in your life is going to change. So let's get you thinking about some paradigms that you might have. So what are you telling yourself about that thing that you want to happen? What are the reasons that you give yourself maybe why it's not possible? And they sound like very valid reasons, right? So give that some thought. Now, there are really only two ways to change a paradigm. The first one is through a very strong emotional impact. It's like a shock to the system. And it is actually typically negative. And the problem is that we can't control an emotional impact. So an example of that would be that maybe when you were little, you were stuck in a lift and you had no clue how to get out there. So you were absolutely panicking. And it created a belief inside of you that you could be stuck in a small space and never get out of it. Now you're an adult and you may still be petrified of going in a lift, or you may be claustrophobic. But it's no longer true because you would now know how to get out of a lift, right? So an emotional impact that creates a belief within you that doesn't serve you. So that's not the way that we work on changing paradigms. So I want you to really give this serious thought and maybe even write it down, because when you really get this, it will change your life forever when you truly understand what I'm going to say. So the second and most effective way to change a paradigm is through the constant and spaced repetition of a new idea over and over and over again, combined with the help of an experienced mentor and coach, right? So mentorship is super important to your success because it isn't just about transferring information and knowledge. So people that are into self-development, and the fact that you're on this call on this masterclass or you're listening to it means that you are ready to, develop yourself, to grow, to do something bigger and better. So the thing is that we have to not just transfer that information. You could go to a seminar, you could go to a conference, you can read a lot of books, you have a lot of information. In fact, you do already know everything that you need to know, right? But the thing is that we know it, but we're not actually applying it, so nothing is changing, which is what we call the knowing doing gap. And it's a very frustrating place to be because you know better, but you're not doing better. So where a mentor and a coach comes in is that they help you apply that knowledge and they hold you accountable. And it's the application of the knowledge and the accountability that are really going to help you to hit those new levels that you want to hit. So when I first started working with my mentor, he made it absolutely crystal clear to me that it was impossible for me to shift my results on my own from my current level of awareness, right? From my current level of self-image, from how I currently saw myself, if you like. So I needed to start seeing myself from his level of awareness if I was ever going to start making a change with anything. So, I already see you with your goal achieved. All my clients, I see them with their goal achieved already. That's the only way I see them. I will only ever see you with your goal achieved. So I want you to just imagine for a moment, what do you believe is possible? And now imagine that you believed it was possible for you to achieve that goal. What action would you take towards your goal? So write that down. If you believed it, what action would you be taking? Now decide when you're going to take the action and write down a date. And ideally, you want to do something about this within the next 24 hours, or at least take the first steps towards it in the next 24 hours. Okay. So if you can, now add that action into your diary. You may be on your computer or phone or wherever, and you might have access to your diary. So put me on pause and stick it in your diary. And if you don't have access at the moment, put it in there immediately after we finish our call. So working with my mentor, who was seeing me with my goal achieved and holding me accountable, meant that I changed my life very, very quickly. So I went from being severely depressed and anxious, working way too many hours, heading for burnout, probably was already burnt out. I'd come out of a very toxic relationship and I found out I had breast cancer. And, I was basically feeling pretty shitty every day. So what happened was that I told my mentor what I wanted. I told him my goal. He saw me from my goal already achieved. And because he saw me like that, he just really, really helped me to create a different awareness of myself. And so what I did was I quadrupled my income in a very, very short space of time. I reduced my hours. I built my confidence back up. I bought my dream home, my dream car, putting my son, who's now 21, through flying school, commercial pilot training, which he's wanted to do since he was 5 years old, living the dream, love it. And I became a coach. Most importantly, though, I wake up and I feel good every day. I'm excited to be working on something that I love to do. And on the very odd occasion that I don't wake up feeling good, I know exactly how to get myself back to a great vibe very, very quickly. And things happen throughout the day. And sometimes I have a bit of a dip, but I've learned these tools to use to make sure that I don't stay there for very, very long at all. And I'm really not telling you this to impress you with me or to impress you with my clients. I'm telling you this because I want to impress upon you that if I can do it, if my clients can do it, you can definitely do it. You can definitely do, and have anything that it is you want. That thing that you wanted for a while that just doesn't seem to be happening. It is absolutely possible, but you've got to change your paradigm, right? And you really have to allow yourself to be your best every day. We live in a completely free world, right? So we are free in our society. We can choose everything. We can choose our clothes, we can choose our school that we want to go to, we can choose the career that we want, we can choose the food that we eat, we can choose our thoughts, we can choose our religion or choose no religion, and we can speak freely without the fear of being prosecuted or persecuted. We are so free in this world, completely free. You know, we can think what we want. In fact, nobody can make you think or feel anything. Nobody can piss you off without your permission, and nobody can make you happy without your permission. Right? You are completely free. So isn't it interesting that when we are so free in everything in life, we're freer than people have ever been before? Isn't it interesting how many of us are still stuck? And how we put ourselves into our own prison, if you like, the prison of our mind. Listen, everything that's holding you back is between your ears. Nowhere else. Between your ears, in your mind. If you change your thinking and you change the thoughts that you accept and reject as true for you, things will change. Just reject all thoughts and ideas that don't align with your desires, and deliberately move your thought patterns and processes to what you do want, and steer away from thinking about things that you don't want. So what we really need to be able to move forward is just the right direction, right? And that's actually one of the purposes of setting a goal. So firstly, we set a goal, we set because we want something. And we want something because we believe that we will feel better in the having of it. So we're actually really after a feeling, not really after a thing or a situation, we're after a feeling. Now, because we're after a feeling, there's no better way to be guided to what we want than through our own feelings, right? Through intuition. Start listening to your intuition, one of your 6 mental muscles. Do 2 whole weeks on that in my program. Okay? So we want something because we believe we feel better in the having of it. Secondly, the true purpose of a goal is for us to grow. The universe is always expanding. Nature is always growing. Even when it's shedding its leaves in autumn and resting in winter, it is preparing for growth. In the UK at the moment, there's millions of leaves everywhere. That's just part of nature getting ready for its next growth. Okay? So us being human beings and part of nature, for us to feel good, we have to grow. And what a goal also does is it gives us direction. You wouldn't drive off in your car if you didn't know where you were going, would you? You'd be driving around aimlessly, possibly forever. So because we now have direction, that goal also now gives us order in our mind. When we know where we're going, we know the steps that we need to take to get there. And actually, the first law of nature is order. Everything is in order. You know, night comes after day, day comes after night, winter, then summer, then spring, then fall. You know, you have to plant an acorn before an oak tree can grow, and so on. Everything in nature is in order. And the thing is that when we are in order, when our mind is in order, when we're clear, we have clarity on stuff, we're in our flow. And things seem to happen very easily and very quickly, and we build momentum. We've all been there, haven't we? When, you know, things just feel good because we're clear on things and we're moving forward and we're flowing, and things come to us whenever we need them. So there's this person I follow on TikTok sometimes and on YouTube called Bashar. And he says the secret to success is to keep acting on your highest excitement to the best of your ability with absolutely no insistence on the outcome. So true. Follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. You're free to follow your bliss and explore those thoughts and those paradigms and those ideas and thoughts that come up that are telling you that you can't, because they are really not true. So in the coaching that I do, we set what we call C-type goals. Now, a C-type goal would be something that sets your heart on fire, something that really excites you, something you really, really want, but also scares you at the same time. I always say it excites and delights you and scares the bejeebies out of you at the same time, which is interesting, right? But that is exactly the right goal that you want to set. So why does it scare you? Well, it's because at a conscious level, you know it's possible, you know you could do it, and it feels exciting. But on a subconscious level, you don't know how to do it. And that feels scary. Now, as I said before, we maybe start to give some thought about and consideration about something we want. But as soon as we start thinking about the how, we pull back because we don't know how. But the thing is, you are not going to know how to do it. And at this stage, at the stages where you're setting your goal, you do not need to know it. You do not need to know how to do it. I want you to think back to when you first learned to drive your car, the very first time you got into the car, you'd never been in a car before, you'd never driven a car before, first time. You had no clue how you were going to operate that thing, no clue. But you knew that you were going to be able to drive it at some point, and you knew that there was a journey to take from not knowing where you were at. So from where you're at now, not knowing, not at your goal, to driving that car, a journey, and you had to learn. And it's exactly the same with achieving your goal. First of all, you've got to decide that you're going to do it. You've got to make what we call a committed decision. And a committed decision means that now you're going for this option and there's no excuses anymore. So everything, when you make that committed decision, everything that you need will come to you. Absolutely. The resources, the people, the opportunities, everything. No, but if you think about thinking about going to Paris for a long weekend, but you haven't decided that you're going to go, you don't need anything. It's only when you decide that you're going to go that you're going to need a plane ticket or a train ticket or a boat ticket, a ferry ticket, a hotel, maybe an itinerary. You don't need anything. You don't need any clothes. You don't need any suitcases, nothing until you decide that you're going to go to Paris. Buy a house. If you're thinking about buying a house, you can even start looking at houses. Great. You don't need anything. But as soon as you decide that you're going to buy a house, now you need stuff. Now you need an estate agent. Now you need maybe a mortgage, a down payment, all of that. And then isn't it funny how then all of a sudden things come on your path? And that's exactly what happens. So once you make that committed decision to go for your goal, the resources, people, and opportunities will come to you, and the ideas will come to you. Because until you open up your mind, you won't entertain any of the ideas that will come up. So unless you have decided that you're going to do something, an idea might pop in, but you don't even recognize it. You don't give it any thought. You don't do anything with it because you don't need anything, because you haven't decided that you're going to do it. Okay. So what is holding you back? Well, it's those paradigms, right? It's your belief system in your subconscious mind. Remember, it rules 95% of your entire life. So think back now to that thing that you really want. And I want you to write down a couple of the reasons why you believe you can't do it or it's not possible. And maybe it's because you've got to pay bills. You have responsibilities. No one you know has done it before. It's not the done thing in your family. You don't have the skills. You don't know how to do it. What are those two reasons, a couple of reasons why you think it's not possible? Now, the thing is that none of these reasons are true. They're just a belief that you're entertaining. Now, what is a belief? A belief is a story. It's just a thought that you keep thinking. It's a story that you keep telling yourself over and over again. And you've been telling yourself that story for a long time. In fact, maybe you were told that story when you were really little. See, before the age of 7, we don't really have a developed conscious mind. Our subconscious mind is wide open. So guess what? A lot of that 95% has been impressed on our subconscious mind, has been programmed, if you like, when we were very little, and we never question it. And so now we believe certain things that may have been true at the time, but they're definitely not true for us now. And so none of those reasons that you're giving yourself are actually true. They're just a belief that you're entertaining. So what we have to do is change the limiting belief, right? So go back to those two reasons, those beliefs that you wrote down. And now I want you to imagine that you're already at your goal. What would your belief be then? And if you start with writing down the polar opposite of that limiting belief you wrote down, you're going to be a long way towards what that person with your goal achieved would be believing, right? And you've got to keep repeating that new thought over and over and over again. Constant spaced repetition will create a new empowering belief. You might have to write it down 100 times a day. You might have to record it on a voice loop and listen to it. Create a mantra, repeat it throughout the day. Now, you're probably going to go, I can't do that. That's way too much effort. I don't have time for that. But that's your paradigm holding you back from making some changes. See, the thing is that only about 3% of people truly, truly live the way they want to live and the way they set out to live. So you could say that living a great life is actually illogical. Only 3% of people are doing it. Now, if you don't want to follow the masses, you need to start doing some stuff that's illogical, like repeating your empowering belief affirmations, like engaging with a coach. So I mentioned before that the way you see yourself, your self-image is a huge, huge paradigm. You can never outperform your self-image. So you have to create that version of you that has already achieved your goal. So now ask yourself, me at my goal, who am I? Who is this person that's at my goal? How do I think? How do I feel about stuff? What do I believe about myself when I'm at my goal? When you're at your goal, what do you believe to be true about yourself? What do you believe to be true about the world? How are you acting? What's your behavior like, your attitude like when you're at your goal? Very different probably from where you're at now, right? So really key is to ask yourself, who are the people that you're spending time with? The person, me at my goal achieved, who are the kind of people that I'm hanging around with? The thing is that we are the average of the 5 people that we hang around with the most. So who are you hanging around with? And the other thing is that if there is a group of 5 people and you are the 6th, then you will become the 6th of whatever they're doing. So if you're hanging around with criminals and you hang around with them long enough, and those are the people that you hang around with most of your time, you will start to become a criminal, even if you weren't one before. Or if you hang around with lazy people, you will hang around with 5 lazy people, you'll be the 6th lazy person, for sure. You hang around with 5 people who are really into their fitness, fit and healthy, and healthy eating and doing sports and all of that, you will become the 6th. And so on. So do you know anybody who has already achieved what you want or something very similar to what you want? Start hanging around with them because they know what they're doing. Okay? So the other thing is, what decisions do you make? When you're at your goal, what kind of decisions do you make? See, the thing is that we have to make a decision for anything for us to move forward. Always takes a decision first before we can take some action. So how would you be making decisions when you're at your goal? When you're at your goal, you're a leader of yourself, really, right? And there are actually 2 types of people. There are leaders and victims. Now, a leader takes responsibility. And they take responsibility because their goal is so much stronger than the excuses that they're telling themselves. And a leader also makes decisions very, very quickly and very, very rarely changes them, if at all, ever. So what kind of a decision maker are you at your goal? You can have anything you want, but before you can have it, you must make that committed decision to become that person that has it first. That's the first step. And so from now on, start being that person, because you can't live your goal if you're not that person, right? One of the things I say to my clients is, and it's the same for lots of people, we say, well, once I've achieved that goal, I will do this, this, and this, and this. Once I've achieved that goal, I will dress the part every day. Once I've achieved the goal, I will get my hair done every 2 weeks. Once I've achieved my goal, I will, do things for charity. So there's probably about 80% that you can already do before you have actually physically achieved your goal. Okay. So start to do that now. You've got to be that person now. When you talk of giving to charity, so someone might say, well, when I've got this £100,000, I'll give 10 grand to charity. Great. but you haven't got the £100,000 yet. But what you can do is you can give a dollar or a pound to somebody. If you've got £10 in your pocket, you can pay it forward at the petrol station and buy a coffee for somebody, or you can even buy somebody's petrol sometimes, you can do all those things. Now, 80% of what you think you're going to do when you're at your goal, you can do right now. So do them right now. Nothing's stopping you to do all of those things right now. So once you start to become what we call emotionally involved with your goal, you're going to really start to entertain this idea. You're starting to believe it at some level that it's possible, and you're starting to get quite excited about it. You will actually smash right into what we call the terror barrier. All hell is breaking loose. You'll start thinking, what the hell was I thinking? I can't do this. I must have been crazy to even think it. What's going on? Okay. So it feels really quite uncomfortable. And if we've ever achieved anything of any consequence, then you would have hit that terror barrier and gone through it. So what's really happening here is that you've been trundling along in your comfort zone, and then this unique you, this uniqueness of you, wants to express itself more. So, and make no mistake about it, we are all unique. There was never anybody like you before, and there never will be anybody like you ever again. So you have unique talents and unique abilities to share with the whole world. So anyway, so you're in your comfort zone. You come up with an idea, a goal, something that will make you grow. Remember, we have to be grown to feel good. We've got to create or disintegrate. You're starting to believe it. You're quite excited about it. And then doubt hits you because you still don't know exactly how you're going to do it. So doubt and fear and worry hits you. So what's happening is that your old energy, your old paradigm is trying to hold you back. And your new energy, the new idea, is pushing you forward, a very, very uncomfortable feeling. And it can even manifest itself in our physical body, right? We've all been there when your stomach drops or you start sweating or you panic. And oh my God, what's going on here? And it can be so uncomfortable that you start to tell yourself, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I don't know what I was thinking. I'll just go back. I'll just stick with where I was at. So you go back. But the problem is that it may feel comfortable for a little while, but that idea will be coming up again. So you may rest for a little while, but this new idea will keep rearing its head until you do something about it. And this is where people get stuck in the vicious circle because they don't like it where they are. They come up with an idea how they can make life better. They hit that terror barrier and they go straight back to what we call the bondage side of things. And you just keep going and going. And it gets so frustrating because you know you can do better. You know it. You know it's possible, but you're not doing it because you're not understanding how to do it. This is what we call the knowing doing gap. Lesson 2 of my coaching. Anyway, so you've got to realize that it's your paradigm that's holding you back. That's all. And when you change your thinking and you change your beliefs, when you start to really understand that you can do it and you start to gather information about how to do it, so when you start to take progressive action towards your goal, you'll crash through that terror barrier and you will find freedom on the other side of it. The cave you enter, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. So true, right? Now, most people will actually need a coach or a mentor to help them to do that because you need somebody to, see you, like I said, from that higher level of awareness. You need somebody to egg you on, to really support you, to keep dragging you outside of the box, to keep reminding you that you can do this and to hold you accountable for your aligned action. Okay, so before we finish, I want to briefly touch on success. So what is success? Well, to me, success is living the life that you really want to live. Both, from a physical and materialistic point of view, but also from an emotional and spiritual point of view and perspective. So living the life that you really want to live. So that when you're on, you take close to taking your last breaths, you look back on a life and it was amazing. As far as we know, we only get one. So make it the most amazing life that it can be. And don't let those paradigms or that fear, don't allow them to hold you back. So there's a great definition of success from Earl Nightingale. Well, I don't know if it's his quote actually, but he quoted it anyway, so that's where I got it from. So he says, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So that basically means that as long as you are moving towards your goal, you are successful. Now, most of us feel that we're only successful once we have achieved what we want. But that's actually not true, because achieving your goal is an effect of being successful. It's not the cause of success. So think for a minute about eating a delicious meal or an amazing piece of chocolate cake. For you to be enjoying eating it, you would have had to have put the ingredients together successfully first, right? In the right quantities at the right time. Because otherwise, that beautiful chocolate cake or that delicious meal wouldn't have materialized. When you get a promotion, it's because you've done your current job successfully. That's why you get the promotion. So you were successful and then got the promotion. You were successful in putting the ingredients together, then you got the cake. You know, we get paid for a service or a product, but we get paid because we've delivered it successfully, and so on. And it's the same with your goal. You know, there are certain ingredients that have to be present for us to successfully achieve it. So now think of a goal that you have achieved in the past. So there were some ingredients there, right? So the first ingredient would have been desire. You would have really wanted it, very important to you. It would have a big impact on you and your life, and maybe the life of your loved ones, if you achieved it. So the first thing you started with was a burning desire for achieving it. Then you would have felt some fear, because without feeling any fear or uncomfortableness, your goal is not big enough. You deserve bigger and better. You must hit that terror barrier if you're on your way to something that's really good for you. Otherwise, you won't hit it. So desire and fear, belief, you would have had to have believed it at some level, that it was possible for you. And then you took action, right? So you had this burning desire, a bit of fear around it. You did have belief at some level, and you took action. Because you have to take action that is aligned with you achieving your goal. And the thing is that when you believe you can do something, you're absolutely right. And when you believe you can't do something, you're also absolutely right. And the action that you would take or not take based on what belief you hold is very, very different, right? So, for instance, if you wanted to get fit and you believed you could do it, you might phone up a gym, or you might call in a gym and you take out a membership, and then you go to the gym to work out. Your result will be that you get fit. So you might even engage with a PT or a coach to help you get there, right? Because there's some expert advice and accountability. So you believed you could get fit and you started taking action towards it. And now you're working out at the gym and you're starting to see your results. Now, if you wanted to get fit and you didn't believe you could do it, you probably wouldn't even pick up the phone. You wouldn't not go to the gym. You know, you wouldn't be working out. You wouldn't have had your membership. None of that. So because you believed it, you took action, and your action then started to prove your belief. Right? So on the other side, where you thought you couldn't do it, so you didn't take any action, that non-action also proved your belief that you couldn't do it. Okay. So the other ingredient would be consistent. You've got to be consistent in your actions, and you've got to be persistent in your actions. Because once you start to take action towards your goal, you will start to see some results. And that will then reinforce, like I said before, your new beliefs, which will enable you to keep going. Overcome obstacles. You will have overcome some obstacles on your way to that goal, to achieving that goal, right? So the first thing, again, is that for you to keep going, your goal must be something that truly, truly excites you. And the thing is that we encounter these obstacles because by solving them, we have to change the way that we think. We're learning something. And through learning that, we are becoming more of the person that we would need to be with our goal achieved. We're starting to change the way we're thinking because we've solved the problem. Okay. And so a problem and an obstacle on your way to your goal is really a learning opportunity so you can get better and get closer to that version of you that's already achieved it. And the thing is that by solving a problem, you will find an opportunity in that solution. Always, there'll be a big opportunity. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. And you wouldn't have noticed that opportunity, or you wouldn't have recognized it, or you wouldn't have created it if you hadn't had to have solved that problem. Okay? So we're basically on a journey from A to B, and we've got to, navigate ourselves, from where we're at now to where you want to be. And we've got to learn on the way. If you go back to learning to drive your car, you probably stalled the thing a few times, or, maybe you had a couple of near crashes, or maybe you forgot to put your indicators on, or anything. It's all learning, all learning. And that's exactly what happens when you come across some obstacles on the way to your goal. So as Einstein said, you cannot solve your problems with the same thinking that created them. Now, cutting a long story short, as I said, it's black and white, right? Unless you change what's going on inside of you, unless you upgrade your self-image and your habits, nothing is going to change for you. So here are a few tips to create some more free time. And I want you to become aware of your thought process around these, right? What are the thoughts that pop into your head that would stop you from implementing these? Really become the observer of your thoughts. So this is to free up some time, right? Don't have any meetings on a Friday. Reduce your meetings that are 1 hour to 45 minutes. Don't put your phone number on your out of office. No contact details. Just tell people you're out of office. You could put maybe your colleague's name on there who was in the office, but don't put your contact details on your out of office. Don't take your laptop home with you. If you haven't got it, you can't do any work. And take all the notifications off your phone, off your iPad, off your computer, your laptop, everywhere, because it's very distracting when you see this thing pop up that says, oh, you received an email from such, you've got a message. Okay, so it stops you from focusing on what you were actually doing, and you are basically giving your power away about the control of your time. So don't, so I say, you decide when you're looking at your emails, you decide when you're checking your messages, right? You decide all of this. It's your 24 hours, you're responsible for it, you're in charge of it. It's not the ping thingy that's in charge of it. It's not the ghost thing that comes up and says you have a message. Get rid of them. You don't need them. You put in your diary the times that you're checking your messages and your emails, and that's it. So now I want you to check the action again that you wrote down to take in the next 24 hours towards something that you really want. And then I want you to write down another action, one more action on that, and make sure you put that into your diary too. So there's a few tips there. Your intellectual mind will say, yeah, they could work, but something will tell you, I can't, no meetings on a Friday. Is she mad? I can't do that. My meetings have to be an hour. They can't just be 45 minutes. I've got to put my phone number on my out of office. So observe all those thoughts, because these are great tips. And if you follow them, absolutely, they will give you more free time. And I've done it. My clients do it. So it's possible. But what are your thought patterns around that? And that's your paradigm. The thing that's telling you that it's not possible for you is your paradigm. So change the way you think, change your perception, and you'll start to implement some of those actions, and you'll start to see some very different results very quickly, right? Okay. So question is, will you do what I suggested? Interesting, right? Now, the thing is that, if you knew that we were going to talk again in, I don't know, a few days or next week, I bet you would be way more likely to do that, right? So this is why accountability is so super, super, super important. Your success, accountability is your success insurance policy, for sure. I remember this, I told this story before. I can play a little bit of piano. I learned when I was little, and I wanted to play jazz piano. So I've been saying this for years, literally years. I was going to play, and I have a piano. I was going to learn to play jazz piano, and then I got a tutor. And guess what? Because I knew she was coming on a Thursday, if I hadn't touched that piano by Tuesday, I was practicing. And so, because she held me accountable, I was doing the work, I was taking the action. This is why accountability is super, super important. And just think anybody who is good at anything has a coach, has an expert coach holding them accountable, showing them how to do things and holding them accountable. So think of athletes, of musicians, singers, dancers, actors, top performers in business, really anyone at the top of their game, they all have one, sometimes even more than one coach or mentor, right? Because, working with a coach totally changed my life, really beyond all recognition. And I truly believe that anyone who wants to achieve anything that's of any consequence, anything that's really way beyond where they're at right now, you're going to need a coach or a mentor to move you out of your comfort zone and to help you to create new and empowering beliefs and to hold you accountable so that you continue to take aligned action. And that's my job as a coach, right? That's what I do. I hold you accountable. And remember, I will only ever see you with you at your goal. And I will make sure that you see yourself with you at your goal so that you can be living it. So, what we cover today is obviously just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to cover. So let me tell you a little bit about how I work with my clients, and then you can see if that's something that you want to do. So, and firstly, really, you can book a free introductory call, right? So I'll have an hour or so with you just to point you in the right direction, start to implement some of these things that maybe we've talked about today, and really start to get you on your way. So if that's something that you want to do, message me, either email me or send me a message, and we can get that in the diary. And I shall be really looking forward to that. Okay. So the way that I work with my clients is that we have one-on-one coaching every week. Sometimes there'll be some group coaching as well. And then you have daily study videos because it's this constant spaced repetition, right? That's going to start to make the difference. So the first and the most effective way to work together is my elite coaching program. This is where we have the one-on-ones on a weekly basis, some group sessions, and you do the daily videos. The reason it's going to be 6 months is because it's going to take me that time to help you shift your paradigms and your self-image for good so that you can stick with it and so that you can permanently change your results, right? I will keep you in the right environment so that you're encouraged to follow through with all those commitments and goals, right? It helps you to stay accountable and to persist in changing those paradigms and self-image. Remember, they were not formed overnight and they're not going to change overnight. They can change very quickly, but you do have to, have that accountability and keep repeating your new story over and over again. So I do also do some coaching in sort of blocks, if that's what you want to do. So it would be more like a very high level introductory style coaching. So if you're interested in taking a deeper dive into that, then give me a shout. Let's do the hour, and then I'll explain a bit more on how the program works and what we do with our clients, and we'll see if it's a good fit for you. I know it's working, it's gonna work, but you have to be ready, right? And you have to be willing to invest the time, the money, and the energy and the effort in yourself. So one of the questions to ask yourself is, are you really willing to do this? Are you willing to become a leader of yourself rather than a follower of followers? And the thing is that once you commit to doing something like this, you will immediately feel better in yourself because you have made a commitment to yourself and you've invested in yourself and you have increased your value to yourself because you've invested in yourself, which immediately boosts your confidence, right? So you are absolutely unique. You deserve the very best in life, but you've got to allow yourself to go after it and make it happen. As I said, not many people live the life they truly want to live. It means it's illogical. To shift your needle, you've got to do some stuff that seems illogical. And you've got to ask yourself, if you're not going to do something about it now, then when are you going to do something? Don't let 2025 slip away. We have not an infinite amount of time on this earth. There's one life as far as we know. Use your time. Your time is your most precious commodity, right? So any questions that you have, please reach out to me. After all, because I forgot to record the live session, this is just a recorded session, so there won't be any live questions on here. So if you want to book that session in, you want to talk about things in a little bit more detail, you know where to find me. And I will be really, really looking forward to connecting with you. And thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. Enjoy your day. Bye.